Now, if you follow my channel, you know I've reviewed my share of the XPS line from Dell over the years, and especially this year we got some new ones. We saw the Dell XPS 14 and the 16, both new here for 2024, and they bring that very modern, very controversial design, so we'll get into it more in this video as to why I think some of you might want to check out the one I'm going to look at here today. Actually, two laptops or workstations, I used to say, we're going to look at here today. Now, I already did my unboxing, and I'll leave a link in the description below to both of these. We're talking about the Dell Precision 5490 and the 5690, and they are two really excellent choices here, especially for the professional. But for those that want the more traditional design over the more futuristic modern design of the XPS 14 and 16, and perhaps we should ask the question, is this what the XPS 14 and 16 should have been? Well, we're going to look at it here today. Hey everybody, it's Andrew, and this is the Dell XPS. Oh, there, I did it. Hey everybody, it's Andrew, and this is the Dell Precision 5490 and 5690 here for 2024. Coming up.
Now, before we get to the units themselves, I just want to let everyone know, in the interest of transparency and full disclosure, I'm not being paid by Dell. I'm not being sponsored by Dell. All the opinions you're about to hear are my own. Dell is not getting copy approval. That means they're seeing this video for the first time, just like you. Now, these units are on loan from Dell, and once this review is done, I'll be sending them back. Now, I want to be very clear up front. I reviewed both the XPS 14 and the XPS 16 earlier this year, and I like the design. I know a lot of people are really upset they removed the function row, replaced it with a capacitive row. A lot of people don't like the haptic touchpad without the delineation where it begins and ends, and a lot of people don't like the keyboard. I'm not in that camp. I actually like using these units. I've used both the XPS 14 as a daily driver. I've used the XPS 16 quite extensively when I reviewed it, so I am pretty well versed on these units to tell you I have no issue using either one of them, and I like the forward-thinking modern design. That being said, I know a lot of people do not like them, and I think that's why I wanted to take a look at the Precision 5490 as well as the Precision 5690, because these workstations owe a lot of their design cues and their design language to that of the XPS line of yesteryear, and that's why I want to take a look at them, not only because are they very capable workstations, which they are in a lot of ways, but they also bring a lot of design language that people want to see, especially what they wanted to see on the XPS line. So with that being said, let's delve right into it. So this is the 16-inch on the bottom right here. This is the 14-inch. And it's a pretty significant size difference. You can see the footprint there. Obviously, the bottom one is going to be thicker. This is the 5490, the 14-inch, and then this is the 5690, which is, of course, 16-inch laptop. With just the unit alone, we're looking at 1.645 kilograms, and that would be 3 pounds, 10 ounces on the dot. So that is with just the unit alone. Now, I'm going to add the power cord and the power charger, and we're looking at just, 4.98 pounds, and that would be as far as kilograms, we're looking at 2.092 kilograms. Now, with the dongle, so you want to travel, get everything in the bag, 2.115 or 2.114 kilograms, and that would be 4 pounds, 10.6 ounces all in. Not too bad. And with just the unit alone, we're looking at 2.323. So 2.323 kilograms, and that would be 5 pounds, 1.9 ounces, 2.799 kilograms all in. That's your total travel weight. So for those wondering, that's what's going to be in your bag. Okay, let's check out the port selection. On the 5490 first, on the left side is a 3.5 millimeter microphone headphone combo jack, 2 USB Type-C Thunderbolt 4 ports that are full function. And also on the left side is that optional smart card reader. Moving over to the right side is 2 more USB Type-C Thunderbolt 4 ports and a Kensington lock port to round it out. And one interesting point, there's an optional micro SD card reader that Dell offers on this unit, but I don't have the one with the micro SD card reader. Now, as far as the 5690 on the left side is an HDMI 2.1 port, a 3.5 millimeter microphone headphone combo jack, 2 USB Type-C Thunderbolt 4 ports that are full function, and your optional smart card reader. And moving over to the right side is a USB Type-C 3.2 Gen 2 port, a Kensington lock port, and you also can get the optional SD card reader located towards the front of the right side. And my review unit does not have that SD card option. Now, let's talk about the displays, and they're both very good. Now, they use different technologies. On the 14-inch, you're looking at an IPS display with a QHD Plus resolution. It's 2560 by 1600. It's a touchscreen display. It's limited to 60 hertz here. There's no option for higher refresh rate, which is a bit disappointing, to be honest. It's got 500 nits of brightness, and you're looking at full coverage of the color gamut. And it also has pen support, which is a nice little bonus there for those that need it. Now, as far as the 16-inch, using OLED technology, which of course you know I'm a big fan of, 3840 by 2400 UHD Plus resolution. 60 hertz is a big deal breaker here for me because I'd like to see that higher, especially with such a high quality display. 400 nits of brightness, and it is an HDR display as well. So both of these bring a lot to the table when it comes to the display, but I'd like to see updated displays with higher refresh rates. That's at least my take here, but let me know what you think in the comment section below. Now, having the 60 hertz refresh rate is not great, but if you add a monitor that has a high refresh rate, that solves the problem and also gives you more screen real estate. That's where this monitor comes in. I'm connecting it here to the 5490, and it's the Dell UltraSharp 40. It's a curved monitor. It's a 40-inch monitor with a resolution of 5120 by 2160. That's a WUHD resolution. It's got 120 hertz refresh rate. It has a 21:9 aspect ratio, so you can have multiple windows open, and you will be more productive. It's got Thunderbolt in terms of a hub here, so I'm powering all of this with one plug right into the 5490. That's a Thunderbolt cable that it comes with, and it does power it with no problem feeding it juice and powering this monitor at the same time. Everything is going on here, and I like that. It's got a lot of ports on it. It's got a great system here that you connect to multiple devices, so you don't have to actually have one device connected. You can have multiple laptops connected or multiple PCs to one monitor, and that is pretty cool. There's a lot of other features. If you want to see a separate video on this, I have no problem making a separate video going into all the features, but needless to say, this is a great complement to these workstations when you want to dock it and get into the studio or into your office or home office. This is a great solution. I highly recommend the Dell UltraSharp curved monitor here for 2024. Now, these are running Intel Meteor Lake processors, which was released late last year, of course, and we're seeing a lot of decent results out of them, although not without its controversy. I do anticipate these getting updated to either Lunar Lake or Arrow Lake coming down the road. We're expecting that later this year, so anticipate these getting updated to that. Well, that being said, the single-core, multi-core performance, as indicated by the results in the Geekbench 6, certainly shows that for everyday tasks, Microsoft Office, email, web browsing will all work well. Anything that needs multi-thread activity or type of task, that's going to do well. So the overall performance is going to be perfectly fine for this. When we looked at the Cinebench 2024, we're seeing more of the same. Decent single core, although not quite as good as the MacBook Pro. That's a better laptop when it comes to single core performance, but multi-core, I think it certainly holds its own, both the 5490 and the 5690. But where they think they have a leg up, I think, is having the discrete GPU. Now, on that 5690, we're looking at the more beefy 5000 series Ada graphics from NVIDIA, and we're seeing the results here in better graphics performance. But of course, the 3000 series on that 5490 is no slouch. You can certainly do video editing on it. You can play games on it. On your downtime, you can render video on it. You can do all sorts of things with it. So good for the graphic artist, good for the architect, good for any of the professional use cases that need those ISV certified applications, especially when you're on the go. That 5490 is more portable, but the 5690 certainly gives you that better performance that you'd want out of a bigger system. So that's to be expected there. Now, when it comes to video editing and, say, DaVinci Resolve, I ran the Puget Systems DaVinci Resolve benchmark, and as you can see, and not a surprise here, the 5690 with its better GPU got a better score. Overall score of 2113 versus the 1700 I got on the 5490, and that's not a surprise. That's the RTX 3000 Ada versus the RTX 5000 Ada, so these are the results. But I think for both of them, and I rendered 4K videos on them, I had no hiccups in terms of scrolling through the timeline. I had no hiccups in terms of actually rendering the 4K video, and that's with effects, transitions, and etc. So color gradings on it as well. So for those professional video editors, these certainly can hold their own. There's no doubt about it. But I think obviously the Precision 5690, the bigger one here, certainly will be even better. But if you need portability, that 5490 certainly will allow you to do that. Now, when it comes to the Time Spy score on the 3D Mark, obviously the RTX 5000 Ada is going to do better, as indicated here. The same with the Firestrike score. So when you're on your downtime, you want to do some gaming, these are certainly capable of playing games. Just have to play with the settings to get the right frame rate and all that stuff. So it is definitely doable here. And of course, that is always great to have that ability to do it. Of course, that's on your downtime, not when you're working. And when I ran the Time Spy stress test to see if either one of these units will thermal throttle, I got great news on both of them, scoring over 98% passing scores, meaning it detected virtually no thermal throttling on either the 5490 or the 5690, and that's good. Now, when it comes to the surface temperatures under heavy load, you're looking at pretty good surface temperatures, keeping it at bay. They did a good job here, although a couple of hot spots here and there, but overall pretty decent when it comes to that, where you place your fingers, where you're going to be typing. It's not going to be overly hot. Now, when it comes to the underside, I think they did a really good job there. The only place you'll notice it heating up are by the heating vents, and that's normal. But on the basic underside there between the fans, it never got overly hot. So pretty good job there by Dell, keeping these overall surface temperatures at bay. And when we're talking about fan noise on the Precision 5490, reaching anywhere between 47 to 50 decibels when placed under heavy load, maybe 51 at a couple of times, 52. But of course, the same could be said of the 5690, getting in the low 50s for the most part when you're really pushing this. But when you're doing everyday tasks, it was a lot less than this, of course. You're probably in the mid to high 30s, but it will come on intermittently every now and then in terms of the fans. Now, battery life on these units, the 5490 and the 5690, are actually really good and better than I expected. Now, the Precision 5490 did 11 hours and 19 minutes on the Modern Office test. It did 11 hours, 32 minutes on the video playback, which is quite good. And then, of course, the 5690 did 11 hours and 42 minutes on the Modern Office test and 13 hours and 21 minutes on the video playback. So I would expect pretty good battery life overall for either one of these units. So pretty good. Now, these, of course, have 60 hertz refresh rate, so you're not going to have the higher refresh rate, but of course you'll do better when it comes to battery life. Now, I like these chiclet style keys. The typing experience on both the 5490 and the 5690 have been really good. It harkens back to the XPS days. So if you like those old keyboards that you got on the XPS in terms of the design before they changed it over to what we see nowadays, starting with that XPS 13 Plus that we saw, then you're going to like this because the tactility, the feedback, the overall key travel is pretty good here. And the typing experience has been very good in terms of writing out long documents, emails, and the like. So the overall tactility, everything good on this keyboard. They both have multi-stage backlights that worked well, and I felt like the touchpads are actually really good. Now, on the 5490, it's a traditional diving board style touchpad, and the responsiveness was very good when it comes to scrolling, doing all the gestures. It's a glass touchpad, of course, and that worked well. The 5690 has a haptic touchpad that I thought was very good in its own right, doing all the scrolling and doing all the gestures. Everything worked. The haptic engine and feedback on it were very good. The overall experience was really good on it. So I have no complaints on the keyboards or the touchpads on either the 5490 or the 5690. Well, this is the Dell Precision 5490 webcam. It's 720p. Yes, I am not joking. 720p here in 2024. Unacceptable, Dell. This is one thing I will call you out on. There is no excuse here. Now, for a 720p webcam, it's not bad. So this is the camera on the Dell Precision 5690. Now, unlike the 5490, this does have a 1080p webcam. What do you think about the video quality? What do you think about the audio quality? Let me know. These are both IR cameras for those wondering, and also the power button doubles as a fingerprint scanner on both the 5490 and the 5690. This, of course, has all the studio effects that we've seen many times before. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. Okay, let's take a peek at the internals here. And as you can see on the left, the 5490 has dual fans as well as the 5690 on the right. Now, one difference is, of course, the vapor chamber cooling on the 5690, which makes sense, of course. And then the 5490, no vapor chamber cooling. Now, they both have SSDs and they are upgradable. Now, there is one M.2 SSD slot on the 5490. And as you can see, the reads and writes are excellent. And as far as the 5690, two SSD slots, which I always welcome. And as you can see, the reads and writes are really good because my review unit has a RAID 0 configuration. Now, when it comes to the memory, there are a couple of differences here. They're both running dual channel memory. They're both soldered, so you can't upgrade either one of these. But you can go up to 64 gigabytes on the 5690. It's running at 7467 megatransfers per second, whereas the 5490 you can configure with 32 gigabytes of memory, also 7467 megatransfers per second. And as far as the wireless, both sport Wi-Fi 7 and Bluetooth combo cards, and both are soldered into the motherboard. Now, as far as battery sizes, the 5490 sports a 72 watt-hour battery, whereas the Precision 5690 has a 99.5 watt-hour battery, and we'll get into that a little bit later in this review. Now, these both sport quad speakers. They're both really good in terms of the overall volume, mids, bass. I think the 5690 actually sounds more richer, fuller, but of course, that's to be expected. It's a bigger device, a bigger chassis on it to allow for bigger sound. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. Now, let's give them a listen. Okay, let's bring it all home. What do I think about the Dell Precision 5490 and the 5690? Well, I like these, especially if you are a professional, need a professional grade workstation. Let's start off with the more portable 5490. It's a tried and true design, a throwback to the XPS days that we used to love, right? With the carbon fiber deck and all that it brings. Now, it has a 14-inch QHD Plus IPS display, which is really good. It's got pen support, touch layer, of course, and a durable, compact design, so it's going to hold up over time, and it's got a fast CPU and GPU performance for its size. Pretty impressive. It's got a comfortable keyboard and touchpad, and it has a pretty decent port selection, and they do give you that dongle in the box. Now, the negatives here, the RAM is not upgradable, but that's nothing new here in 2024. No new display options. We still have a 60 hertz refresh rate, which is a bit disappointing, and they still offer this with a 720p webcam, not acceptable here in 2024. I think the 5490 positions itself to be a very powerful 14-inch portable workstation that gives you that versatility, gives you the performance you need when you're on the go. So it's a nice grab-and-go portable workstation that won't skimp on performance. So I do recommend it here for 2024. And as far as the 5690 is concerned, you're looking at a gorgeous 16-inch OLED display, a really nice haptic touchpad, a powerful CPU, GPU performance here, 3-year warranty, which I welcome, good battery life, plenty of ports. It's got a really good build and design. It's got a comfortable keyboard, and I love the fact that it has 2 SSD slots for you to upgrade the storage should you need it. And I love the fact that you can go with a RAID 0 configuration, giving you some really fast reads and writes. Now, as far as the negatives, the RAM is not upgradable, but that's pretty much par for the course. You can get this with 64 gigabytes of RAM. Now, the fans can get loud under load, and there's no ECC RAM option, which would have been great for the professional, and it's still only 60 hertz refresh rate here in 2024. They need to move to 120 hertz at least. So that is where we stand on the 5690. I think for those professional grade workstations here, this is going to compete among them, and I think it's one of the best out there. I like the build, I like the design, I like the display, and I really like what this brings to the table, and I do highly recommend this one as well here for 2024.
So please hit the like button, please subscribe, please share this video. Don't forget to leave a comment in that comment section below. Let me know how I'm doing. Let me know if there's a device or something out there you think I should review. I'll do my best to try to make that happen. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and X, the platform formerly known as Twitter. And don't forget to check out my website, amdtechreviews.com. So until next time, this is Andrew, and I'll see you in the next video.